But I think a chance in going down to the surgery once the car's fixed.
Okay.
I don't know whether the.
Are you? Yeah, no, yeah, the girl who's on security is one of your park running friends.
All right, what? Caroline?
I can't remember her name.
Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Hello, you okay?
Yes, thank you. You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. I've had a hectic morning, but I'll don't worry about that now. But I'm fine now.
Oh, good. That sounds a bit ominous.
Yeah, well, what it was, my mother-in-law was meant to have a vaccine this morning, very early, but Olivia's car broke down, so we couldn't do
Oh
it.
no. Oh no.
And we've got the AA round now, so that was a bit of a blow.
Oh.
But it was all sorts of. I wasn't with her. Anyway, all's well that ends well. The car breaking down is the least of our worries. It just
Oh.
completely just threw me off track. But now I'm all relaxed and really looking forward to service. And I'm really grateful that you included Rosemary.
Yeah, did you
Even
see the
though
reply?
I would have preferred it had you done it, it's just that she feels the need, obviously,
Yeah,
to.
I know.
She's obviously got strong needs there, and it would be wrong to deny her.
Yeah.
So, but I thought you're quite tactful. I think you did the right thing, but I would have said no. Personally, but I'm
I
not
just
saying you did the wrong thing because
yeah.
we
I
often.
mean, I know that she does struggle with the Hebrew reading.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, she sounded so desperate to do
Yeah,
it. I mean,
exactly.
she did do the Barley Tefillah course because I saw her at one of the events
Yeah,
afterwards.
sure.
You know, but you know, it's. I mean, I think like in Stevenage, there's three of us that did the Barley Tefillah course.
All right.
And me and Terry, Terry's his wife is chair and he is secretary, but he does most of the work. I mean, he and we always take the Friday night service, and when we haven't got a rabbi, we take the Shabbat morning service as well.
Okay.
And the other person that did it, he's not that well, so he does sort of join in a bit. But yeah, so we use that, but obviously in a bigger community, you know, you can't always use it. So yeah, but yeah, I just felt bad.
Yeah, okay, well, it's good. No, you did the right thing. So
Yeah.
what's the worst that could happen?
She's done. It's like this lady that I do the sort of session with on a Friday. She was reading the Torah blessings last week, and when we did it on Friday, when we practiced it, she was absolutely perfect. But she gets really nervous,
Yes,
and because she was nervous, then she stumbled over it. And I know that she could do it, but you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's like that, and it's practice as well. I think it's
Kevin, good morning.
Morning.
Are you here now for the duration?
Yes, I'm here for the duration.
Good. So Mabel's had a second jab.
No, it didn't happen. It's a long story.
Shame. Well, because we got to rush off because we've both got our second jab just after 1 o'clock. So
I'll be here for the duration. When
good. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, so you've had your second jab before Mabel. That must make you older than her.
Who knows? Maybe we'll turn up and they say, sorry, cancelled.
That's a long story. It was. I'll tell you some other time.
Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Hi, Joseph.
Shalom, Joseph.
Can I just see if I sound okay to everybody? La 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 la.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Hi, Rania.
Good morning. Hi.
Morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, your sound's good. Your sound is better than mine.
Thank you.
Is it an iPad that you use, Rania, or a computer?
A computer.
Yeah, I was just saying, like previous weeks, you can get the cables that connect up your computer to the router.
Not when you're in lockdown.
Yeah, you can. You get them delivered.
I suppose it's online. Yeah. Don't forget, it's different in France. We're celebrating being able to do things, but I know it's a lot.
I know.
Kevin?
Yeah?
Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes.
You know this Prince Philip thing you want to do?
Yeah.
Is that going to be in addition to the royal family?
No.
You're
Instead
replacing
of.
it. Right. Okay. Got it.
I'm just going to do some.
I've got it as well in case of anything.
Yeah. It's just sometimes.
In case it goes wrong, but
I can't always rely on my screen shares. I don't know, but I've closed down my Facebook account.
Morning, Maria.
Yeah, Joseph, can I let you do all the admin as far as when Stephen does his sermon?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I don't need to pin him or anything like that, or
no. Well, I'll do it. I'll do it.
You do. That's fine because I'm never sure. And Stephen, we might as well ask you now that we sometimes like to put the sermons on our Facebook page, but we have to ask consent.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Great.
Well, we'll be the decide of that after
You decide. You know,
Yeah.
not my best.
But it's always good to. There's sometimes some rabbis have actually declined, so it does vary.
Oh, right.
Interesting, but it's good. You have to ask. I think it's a legal requirement.
Well, I don't think it's legal, but I think it's a good idea.
Or
a good idea.
Taken.
Yeah, I mean everything we do goes on YouTube anyway. So if you're determined enough, you can find it.
I'm pretty certain Rachel's going to be watching this, so we have to be on our best behaviour.
Apart from you, Kevin, we always are.
Yeah, I'm the.
I can see, yeah.
I can't help the mischievous child in me. Somehow I can't let totally go off.
You didn't get told off by David Baddiel again, then, Kevin.
Oh, I didn't go on him. Oh no! Oh gosh.
Danielle was on it.
I thought he had sent shivers up his spine. But he seriously found me off-putting. That's what the
I understand it. Just can't understand it, Kevin.
Because it was one of those shows where, which probably when it's a comedy, I don't think it's a good idea being in the front row.
No,
It was
I think
practically
you're right.
sold out, but the front row was fairly sparse, so
Yeah,
that probably made it worse. And,
never sit in the front row.
and with me, when I've got this laugh that is very, very sort of kind of it carries, shall we say?
Mm.
But he might have thought I was taking the, you know what, but I wasn't. Anyway, and I'm not very good at whispering as well.
I've not been. There are Zoom comedy things which I've not been to any. It must be quite a weird format.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but I guess it's no different. I suppose everyone's muted, and then the person.
You can't get a sense of laughter. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
yeah, it's.
probably can laughter, I guess.
Sad.
Hate that.
Yeah, on comedies when it's you don't. Well, I suppose one thing about canned laughter, at least you know what the funny parts are, but. But yeah, I've heard of real laughter. But like even like concerts on Zoom, musical concerts.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's been that quite a bit.
But yeah, it's just funny what does work and doesn't work. But it was good that you and Felicity were able to be fairly much in sync in different rooms.
I like your new hair.
Take a bit of practice.
Kevin.
Yeah, but there was a time where it just couldn't. It couldn't be done.
Mm. Oh, very quiet.
Morning, Paul.
It's quiet. Everyone's shy. Maybe some people had a late night. I know what I was doing, but that's a secret.
Sorry. Good morning, all. Shabbat shalom.
Hello. Hi.
I keep forgetting when I open up, I'm on mute, so I'm saying hello to everybody. Nobody can hear me.
You're speaking to yourself, Paul. I know. Listen, I know that feeling. So nobody's noticed anything different about me since last week.
Haircut. Yes, haircut. Your haircut.
Haircut.
Yeah, I'm 2 stone lighter.
Not much left, Kev.
Yeah, more empty space there isn't, but
Nice.
it was quite a relief, I will say.
Yeah.
It was either that or the pub.
A bit cold for the pub outside at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think it's really, or even a meal, when you're having a meal or a drink outside and it's really freezing, and you're wrapped up and it's not really my idea of fun, although.
So I bet all the pubs were crowded.
Yeah, that's this week a little bit more, I guess, but I think the novelty will wear off, but you have to book. The thing is, you can't just sort of, it's not going to be overcrowded because each place you have to actually book a table and there's some rules about distancing and everything. So it's not a free for all.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom, Kevin.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Anna.
Hello, Maria. Shabbat Shalom.
Morning. Nice earrings. I like them.
Shabbat Shalom, Hannah.
Lovely to see you.
Love to see you too.
Nice bright morning today.
Blue sky.
It's a bit chilly out there.
Say fit for a funeral.
Oh yeah, well.
Don't be like that.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
It makes a difference. Hello, Rania. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. How are you, Hannah?
Bearing up. I wish it was a bit warmer, but I love the sunshine.
Oh, yes, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yes, it makes all the difference. Yes. Yes.
You've got beautiful earrings, Hannah.
Yes, yeah, you see?
Thank you. They're one of what I call my summer earrings. So I'm sort of trying to bring the warmth by sympathetic magic, I think. Hello, Paul. Shabbat
Hi,
shalom.
Hannah. Shabbat shalom.
You've become a bit of a regular now. Which is good. It's not a complaint.
I wanted to ask you something, Kevin.
Yes.
Last night you said you wanted to give me something else to read apart from the Haftorah. Do you think you could give it to somebody else?
Yes.
If you could find somebody, would you mind?
If you'd rather not, okay. Well, let me think about it. Okay.
Yeah, because I think I've got my hands full with that Haftorah.
Yeah, just because you read so beautifully.
Thank you so much. Flattery will get you everywhere.
You're getting too old for that sort of thing.
And see it coming a mile off.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is that a frog you've got on your bookcase there?
I've got frogs. I've got frogs everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am a frog person.
I see.
I've got, well, I won't say hundreds, but certainly dozens. Yeah.
You're a frog collector. I know
That's what they call the French, isn't it?
Nothing to do with the frogs. Those frogs, yes.
Lucky Vanya's not here, don't I?
Yeah. I know people who collect cat things and owl things.
Yes.
Those are quite popular.
I've got loads of cat things. I've also got loads of skulls from when I was at school and used them as still life objects and things. And my granddaughter absolutely obsessed with skulls, and every time she comes around, can I have that? Can I have that? No, it's mine. No, it's mine.
They are difficult. I mean, drawing from bones is difficult.
These are little kind of like, Halloween type things. They're not proper skulls. We had proper skulls in the department, but not mine aren't.
When I was modelling, I used to model with skeletons sometimes. All skeletons. No, it was actually fascinating and very hard for the students because it's easy if you're covered with flesh, but when it's just bones, they're very beautiful, but they're also very hard to draw.
Yeah. Nearly 11 o'clock.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Who chose that piece of Haftorah that I'm reading? Do you know?
Well, it's from the LJ lectionary. It's meant to be consistent with the Torah reading, which Stephen chose.
Yeah, I can't see a vague connection. Yeah. Anyway, we'll do what we can.
Yeah, but they're all supposedly linked.
Who chose the one of the three, though? Was it you, Kevin? Was it you?
No, Stephen did. It's not service.
Blame Stephen then.
Yes,
with him.
yeah. If anything goes wrong, it's Stephen's fault. If it goes well, it's down to me. That's. I think that's reasonable.
So, I didn't have a chance to say hello to Joseph and Shabbat Shalom to you too. Is it you? Is Felicity with you today?
No, sorry. No, afraid not.
Well,
she can only...
It makes it more of a treat when she does.
Yeah, she only comes like once monthly. She has a neighbour that complains if she does it too often.
Really? How could a neighbour complain?
Wants to be in bed? I don't know.
Heavy metal in the early hours of the morning. Oh, she's a beautiful singer. Not But you're not Joseph, but she is really good. And her Hebrew is really good as well. That's the other thing I would say, given it's not her native.
It's because I transliterate it so well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the lady that does the singing with us in Stevenage can't read Hebrew, but you wouldn't know that because, again, everything's transliterated for her.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
When I was in Ealing as a member,
Linda's
I was
frozen.
asked to sing, and I could read Hebrew, but I couldn't read book. The other singer could read notes, but couldn't read Hebrew. So it was a funny correction. Yeah.
Hello.
Morning.
Hello, Alison.
Hi,
Good to
Alison.
see
I
you.
can't get video because I've prevented it doing something.
Oh,
I'm
God.
on my phone because my computer is doing a scan. I
Oh,
can't
okay. Not...
get it to do things that I want it to do.
That's the trouble with machines. They're lovely when they work, and they're a right pain when they don't.
It's
about it.
said it wants to do everything. So I'm sorry, I'm not. I can see everybody else, but I can't see. I can't do myself.
Never mind.
Well, we can hear you loud and clear, Alison.
We certainly can. Are we almost ready to start? Joseph, are you nearly ready to start?
Kevin, is it worth getting a couple of someone to do the blessings before and after the?
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Right. So Steve, it's your part, Stephen. So the blessings. You want someone to do the blessings, Stephen?
Yes, please.
Any volunteers for the Torah blessings? No rush. Stephen normally volunteers, and Linda, I'm going to volunteer. Paul and Pat, perhaps. Sorry to put you. Yep, that looks like a yes. Oops. Right. There's three. Are we going to do the three blessings as well? There's which will be on the screen share. We've got a special blessing for the royal family in light of obviously the events of today, the funeral. It's a very poignant reading. Would anyone like to do that? It was used last night in the service.
I'll do it if you want.
Yeah, fine. We don't have to see you, so long as we can hear you, and you'll be able to
where is it?
It'll be a screen share.
When will it be? What time?
It will be the usual time, the usual place after the
okay.
After Haftorah. I just forgot. So we've got that. A prayer for our community.
Do you want me to do that?
No, we'll mix up a bit. Maureen, was that you?
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
That's for the community. And would anyone like to recite a prayer for the state of Israel?
Who is that?
That's George. I saw George's hand up first.
Yeah.
I apologise if I've missed any hands, but Stephen or Linda might pick on people. You never know. I'm not going to do that, but so be prepared. Joseph, you're in good voice. Yep. You've done your sound check. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Yeah, so I think we're ready to start. We've got, this is a special service because it's, especially Linda will be leading the first part, and this is your debut as a leader, but you've often stepped in an emergency, so this time you actually have planned for it. So we've got Linda, Stephen, and I will be concluding the service. And it's really good that we've got our congregants actually sort of taking part now with the service. So I'm going to mute myself, and if I could ask everyone else to kindly put themselves muted and obviously unmute once if you've got a part that you're going to read. So over to you, Joseph and Linda.
Okay, so welcome everybody, Shabbat Shalom, and we're going to be doing service 4 this morning. which is on page 122. And I will pass over to Joseph.
משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל, אני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה אליך על קודשך, ביראתך אליך על קודשך, ביראתך. Adonai ahavti mehon betecha umakom mishkan kavodecha vani eshtachave eracha livnei Adonai osi. Vani tafilati lach Adonai et ratzon Elohim barov chazdecha aneni bemet ishecha.
And the bottom of page 122. Eternal God, we come before you surrounded by members of our community. With them we share our happiness and it becomes greater, our troubles and they become smaller. May we never be too mean to give nor too proud to receive, for in giving and receiving we discover you and begin to understand the meaning of life. Let us not separate ourselves from the true strength of our community, the experience and wisdom of old people, the hopes of the young, and the examples of care and courage which sustain us. Give us an open mind and a generous heart to welcome those who need us and to admit your presence into our daily life. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the strength that comes to us through our community. We should revere God in all that we do, privately as well as publicly, acknowledge the truth and speak it in our hearts. Sovereign of all worlds, we lay our supplications before you, relying not on our merit, but on your abundant mercy. For what are we? What is our life and what our piety? What our goodness and what our strength? What can we say in your presence, eternal God? Are not the mightiest of us as nothing before you, the famous as though they had never lived, the learned as if they had no knowledge, the wise as if without understanding? The most of what we do is futile, and our life on earth is but a span. Our superiority over other animals amounts to little, for all is vanity. Nevertheless, we are your people, children of your covenant, and called to your service. Therefore it is right that we should thank and praise you, to proclaim your holiness, and daily say before you, Ashrenu, Ashrenu, Matov, Matov, Matov Helkenu, Ashrenu, Ashrenu, Matov, Matov, Matov Helkenu, Manayim, Manayim, Manayim Goralenu, Manayim, Manayim, Manayim Goralenu, Manayim, Manayim, Manayim Goralenu, Manayim, Manayim, Manayim Goralenu, Umayafa, 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 Yerushatenu, Ashrenu, Umayafa, 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 Yerushatenu, Ashrenu. Praise be the one at whose command the world came to be. We praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. With songs of praise, we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mahulal batishbachot. We praise you, sovereign God, to whom all praise is due. At dawn and dusk I seek you. Reach out and look to you. With soul athirst I yearn for you. I am a beggar at your door. The galaxies cannot contain you, yet you dwell in my inmost being. I hold your glory in my heart. My love for you exceeds my speech, so I will praise your name, Eternal One, as long as your breath of life remains within me. Praised be the Eternal One forever. Amen and amen. Praised be the eternal God, the God of Israel, who does wonderful things. Let God's glorious name be praised forever, and let the whole earth be filled with God's glory. Amen and amen.
Nishmat kol hai, tvarek et shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu, Baruch kol basar, tvarek amen, Yichacha, Adonai tamid, min ha'olam, ועד העולם,
God of all ages, of all generations, of all creatures, to whom our praise ascends. You guide the world with constant love, your children with tender care. To you alone we give thanks. Yet, though our mouths should overflow with song as the sea, our tongues with exultation as the roaring waves, and our lips with praise as heaven's wide expanse, and though our eyes shine as the sun and moon, our arms spread forth like the wings of eagles, and our feet speed swiftly as hinds, still we could not fully thank you, eternal God, for your infinite kindness to our ancestors and to us. Therefore, the limbs you have formed in us, the spirit you have breathed into us, and the tongue you have set in our mouths, all shall unite to thank and praise, extol you and exalt you, the sovereign God. Every mouth shall thank you, every tongue bear witness to you, every knee shall bend to you, every body bow down to you, every heart shall revere you, and every fibre of our being shall sing your praise. For so it is written, all my bones shall say, who is like you, Eternal One? Therefore we extol you and proclaim your glory, and praise your holy name, as it is said, praise the Eternal One, O my soul. Let all that is within me praise God's holy name.
Adonai malak, geut lavesh Adonai az hitazah, avtikon tevel baltimot. Nachon kisachach behaz, me'olam atah. Nasu naharot Adonai, nasu naharot kolam. Isu naharot hayam, mikolot mayim rabim. Adirim mishpreyam, adir bamarom Adonai. Eidotecha nemnu meod, leveitcha nava kodesh. Adonai leorech yamim, Adonai leorech yamim.
Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu, Haya hamelech hagadol v'hakadosh b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki l'chana Adonai Eloheinu, Be'Elohei Avoteinu, Shir u'shvacha, Halel v'zimra, Barachot v'hodot, Me'ata v'ad olam, Baruch atah Adonai, Abohe b'shirei zimra. And we turn to page 135 for the Baruchu.
Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Nine, 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 nine. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Me'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Me'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, yotzeh or uvorech choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, hame'er la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvetuvo machadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chokma asita, mala ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, Al shevak ma'aseh yadecha va'al ma'orei or she'asita, yefa'arucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzeh ha'ma'orot. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us, and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you.
And in the middle of page 137.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Baruch Shem Kavod Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam La'olam va'ed.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol ma'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzabecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanta levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukasharatam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotofot bein einecha uchatavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. I think I've frozen. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Lemantis keruva asitem et kol mitzvotai, V'yitem kadoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer, as you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'ata b'kodesh, nora tehila tosefele, nora tehila tosefele. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, בשמחה עזבת הים, יחד כולם הודו, ותמליכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. So Israel, Uma Bezrat Israel, Goleinu Adonai, Sevaot Shamo, Kadosh Israel, Baruch Atah Adonai, Kol Israel, Kol Israel. Amen.
And we now turn to page 140 for the tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftach uhufiya gitehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach uhufiya gitehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol v'Hagibur v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Havot ve'Imahot, Umevig Ula Lifnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Ahava. Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv Haruach u'Marid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh u'Morid HaTal. Mechalkel Chayim b'Chesed, Mechayei Metim b'Rachamim Rabim, Zohomek Noflim v'Rofer Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afah, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'Midoho Mehelach, Melech Meimit Umakahaye Umatzmiach Yeshua B'nei Manatalach Hakayot Metim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye HaMetim. We sanctify your name on earth, as in the prophet's vision the hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech kol haaretz kavodo.
Kavodo Malei Olam.
Baruch kavod Adonai, Imakomo.
From your concealment, majestic one, reveal yourself, rule over us, for you are our hope.
Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Yitzion, Adov Adon, Hallelujah.
Le Dorvador, Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador Nagid Kadlecha. Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador Nagid Kadlecha. Ule netzach netzachim, Ule netzach netzachim, Kedushatecha Nagdish. V'shivchaka Eloheinu, mehipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador Nagid Kadlecha. Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador, Le Dorvador Nagid Kadlecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. I was waiting for the responses then, and I didn't get any.
I thought you were doing it all by yourself, so I stayed out of it.
It's all right. And the bottom of page 142. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
Yizmachu b'malchutecha, shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Yizmachu b'malchutecha, shomre, shomre Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshe, Mekadeshe, Mekadeshe Shavi Shabbat. Kulam yisbechu, veyitangu mituvecha Shabbat. V'hashvihi latzita bo, v'kidashto Shabbat. Emdat yamim oto karata. Zecher l'maseh b'reshit Shabbat. Zecher l'maseh b'reshit Shabbat. Yismachu v'malchutecha, shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Yismachu v'malchutecha, shomre, shomre Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, ritzei v'mnuchatenu, kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, b'tein helkenu b'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha, v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'taheh libenu l'ovdecha be'emet, v'hanhilenu Adonai Eloheinu, b'ahavat uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha, v'anuhu va Yisrael, mekadshei shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of Sabbath. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amacha Yisrael, tfilatam ba'ahavat kabel, tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha, b'yira na'avod. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence.
Modim anachnu la, she'atah hu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu leolam va'ed. Tzur hayenu, mageni shenu, atahu lador vador. Nodeh laha unasaper tehilateha, al hayenu hamasurim v'yadeha, va'al nishmotenu hapakudot lach, va'al niseha shabachol yom magenu, va'al nifloteha v'toveteha shebahol eight erev vavoker v'tzaharayim. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimha ulaha na'eh lahadot.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. V'cheinu avinu kulanu ka'echad ve'opalecha. V'opalecha netata lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Torat hayim v'ahavat chesed u'tzedaka u'vracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. V'tov b'necha levarek et amcha Yisrael, et kol hamim uv'chol et choshav b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom.
And we now have a period of silent prayer where you can read the words that are in the book or you can say your own thoughts. Yehi leratzon imrefi, yehi leratzon imrefi, v'hegyon libi lefanecha, v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri v'goali, Adonai tzuri v'goali, Turi, Turi, Virgo Ali, Turi, Virgo Ali. And we're going to follow with the theme service on page 261. This theme service obviously links with the Torah portion today, and the Torah portion is a double portion, Tazria Metzora, and I thought it linked because it's all about cleanliness and health and people having to isolate and so on. And there is a quote from part of the parashah today, which comes from Leviticus chapter 13, verse 6, which says, "After 7 days the Kohen shall look at him. If the rash is lighter and has not spread, the Kohen shall say he is clean. The person shall wash his clothes and be clean." And I think, you know, part of that is very relevant to today. So page 261, the theme service, health. V'ish o isha ki yeh vo naga. When a man or a woman has an affliction. When we are ill, we long to be well, and when we are well, we forget how it feels to be ill. We take our health for granted and omit to thank God for our good fortune. After a long illness, I was permitted for the first time to step out of doors, and as I crossed the threshold, sunlight greeted me. So long as I live, I shall never forget that moment. The sky overhead was very blue, very clear, and very, very high. A faint wind blew from off the western plains, cool and yet somehow tinged with warmth, like a dry, chilled wine. And everywhere, in the firmament above me, in the great vault between the earth and sky, on the pavements, the buildings, the golden glow of sunlight. It touched me too, with friendship, with warmth, with blessing. And as I basked in its glory, there ran through my mind those wonderful words of the prophet. For you who revere my name, the Sun of Righteousness shall rise with healing on its wings. In that instant, I looked about me to see whether anyone else showed on their face the joy, almost the beatitude I felt. But no, there they walked, men and women and children, in the glory of the golden flood, and so far as I could detect, there was none to give it heed. And then I remembered how often I too had been indifferent to the sunlight, how often, preoccupied with petty and sometimes mean concerns, I had disregarded it. And I said to myself, how precious is the sunlight, but alas, how careless of it we are. It is better to be poor and well than rich and afflicted in body. I would rather have good health than gold, and a sound mind than precious stones. There is no wealth greater than physical fitness, and no gladness above joy of heart. Look to your health, and if you have it, praise God, and value it next to a good conscience, for health is the second blessing that we mortals are capable of, a blessing that money can't buy. The Torah as a whole aims at two things, the welfare of the body and the welfare of the soul. To keep one's body healthy and in good condition is part of what it means to walk in God's ways, for it is difficult to know and understand God when one is sick. Therefore, we have a duty to avoid whatever is injurious to the body and cultivate habits conducive to health and strength. Is not the body the soul's house? Why then should we not take care of the house, that it may not fall into ruins? My child, test yourself while you live. See what is bad for you and do not give in to it, for not everything is good for everyone, and no one may choose all things. Honor physicians, even when you have no heed of them, for God has commissioned them. Their gift of healing comes from God. It is God who causes medicinal herbs to grow out of the earth, and the sensible will not despise them. With them, the physician relieves pain, and the pharmacist makes drugs. My child, if you have an illness, do not neglect it, but pray to God, who is the source of healing. My God, heal me, and I shall be healed. Let not your anger consume me. My medicines come from you, whether good or unavailing, both strong and weak. Let yours be the choice, not mine. For you, O God, know what harms and helps. Not on my power of healing do I rely, but only for your healing do I look. Heal me, Eternal One, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved, for you are my praise. Now, the next passage is actually a prayer for the sick. And I know it's not usual to do it at this time, but I thought as we were going to be saying the prayer for the sick, if there is anybody who would like to mention anybody, please unmute and say the name.
My friend Daphne Cottons.
My friend Alicia Lewis and her daughter Muriel.
My cousin Nikki.
And I would like to mention my friend Stuart Beattie. V'hi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, she'shilach m'harei refuah sheleimah refuat hanefesh urefuat haguf l'chol hacholim. May it be your will, Eternal One, our God and God of our ancestors, speedily to grant a perfect healing of body and soul to all who are sick.
Modani lafaneha mechai v'kayam shechechazata binishmati v'hem la Emuna teraba, emuna teraba, emuna teraba.
Thank you very much, Linda. We now turn to the Torah service on page 481, 481. There is none like you, Eternal One, among the gods people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting, your reign endures from age to age. Eternal One, you reign, you have reigned, you will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with peace.
En kamocha ba Elohim Adonai, en kamasecha, malchutecha malchut, kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol da'ado. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imlach, le'olam va'ed. Adonai olam lo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom.
Ma Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Adonai Adonai Eti u'Noramama Shemo Yachdav. Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name.
Adonai hagdula, v'hagvura, v'hatiferet, v'hanetzach, v'hanetzach, v'hahod, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Adonai hamamlecha, hamidnaseh, v'chol v'arosh.
Thank you, Joseph. So as Linda told us just before, today we have a double Sidra covering the less than delightful topics of purification rituals after childbirth, the procedure for dealing with leprosy, rituals around skin diseases, and laws regarding the emission of bodily fluids. The parashas of Tazria and Matsora continue the discussion of the laws of Tumah v'Tahara, ritual impurity and purity. And I shall be reading today from Leviticus 12, verses 1 to 8 at the start of the Sidra. Chapter 12 explains that if a woman gave birth to a baby boy, she was considered unclean for 7 days. By unclean, the Torah meant that the woman was ceremonially not fit to set foot in the temple or participate in the holy rituals. On the 8th day, the baby boy should be circumcised. The woman is impure for 33 days. Female children are unclean for 2 weeks, and the women for 66 days. Following each designated period of impurity, the same sacrifice is required for a male or female child and the mother. But based on the double time for uncleanliness on the part of women and female children, 66 days and 2 weeks, Leviticus 12 is controversial because it implies that women are more impure than men. But patriarchal patterns should be expected in Leviticus, considering its existence in a patriarchal society. Pat, is it you who's going to read the blessing before the Torah portion?
Yep. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bocha bonu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten.
Thank you. Now,
I'm going to share the screen now for the portion. Can you see that, everybody?
No, we can't see it.
I'm going to stop the share there. I don't know what's going. If somebody else could share it, I don't know what.
I can try if you like, Kevin.
Yeah, apologies for that.
Let me try this. Hang on. Is that working at all? No. Try there. How's that?
Click on share screen, Stephen.
Yeah. Try him. Let me just move this across. How's that?
No.
Okay, I think you just have to bear with me then.
Okay.
I'll do it in a minute. Just start, Stephen, and I'll get it up.
Okay. V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael lemor isha, ki tazria v'yalda zachar v'tama'a, shiva'at yamim ki mei midat dota titma. Uvayom hashmini yimol basar arlato. Ushloshim yom ushloshet yamim, teshev bidmei tahara. B'chol kodesh, lo tiga ve'el hamikdash, lo tavo ad meloot yemei tahara. Ve'im nikeva teiled, v'tama'a shavoyim, hinidata v'sheshim yom v'sheshet yamim teshev, al demei tahara. Uvimlot yemei tahara, levain olavat, tavi keves ben shanato leola.
Oh yes.
Uven yona o tor, lahatat el petach ohel moed el hakohen. Vehikrivo lifnei Adonai v'chiper aleha, v'tahara mikor dameha. Zot Torat hayoledet lezachar o linkba. Ve'im lo timsa yada de se v'lakcha shtei torim o shnei bnei Yona echad leola va'echad lahatat v'chiper aleha hakohen v'tahera. Back to the start. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the Israelite people thus. When a woman at childbirth bears a male, she shall be unclean 7 days. She shall be unclean as at the time of her menstrual infirmity. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. She shall remain in a state of blood purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any consecrated thing, nor enter the sanctuary until her period of purification is completed. If she bears a female, she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as during her menstruation, and she shall remain in a state of blood purification for 66 days. On the completion of her period of purification, for either son or daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a lamb in its first year for a burnt offering, and a pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. He shall offer it before the Lord and make expiation on her behalf. She shall then be clean from her flow of blood. Such are the rituals concerning her who bears a child, male or female. If, however, her means do not suffice for a sheep, she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. The priest shall make expiation on her behalf, and she shall be clean.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam notar b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai.
Amen.
Amen. Hannah, I believe.
Are we going to have a go at sharing the screen? Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Hey, beat me to it. Anna?
Right. The Haftarah portion today is chapter 4 of the second book of Kings, verse 42, through chapter 5 until verse 19. And it is, of course, related to the Torah portion. The book of Kings is full of all sorts of very disturbing things. And here we come to stories about the prophet Elisha, who performed all kinds of miracles to help people. The first part of the Haftarah will remind you perhaps of a certain story of loaves and fishes, but here we miss the fishes. And in the second part, in chapter 5, there is a reference to the River Jordan, and all I can hope is that in the days when this happened, it was cleaner than it is nowadays, because nobody would be cured of anything with it. I am going to read this Haftarah portion in memory of my beloved father, Ernest Schlesinger. His Hebrew name was Moshe Eliyahu ben Yeshayahu. And I'm going to read the translation from the JPS Tanakh because it's easier for me to see than the lines in front of me. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarin be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nviei ha'emet b'tzedek. A man came from Baal Shalisha, and he brought the man of God some bread of the first reaping, 20 loaves of barley bread, and some fresh grain from his sack. And Elisha said, "Give it to the people and let them eat." His attendant replied, "How can I set this before 100 men?" But he said, "Give it to the people and let them eat. For thus said the Lord, they shall eat and have some left over." So he set it before them, and when they had eaten, they had some left over, as the Lord had said. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was important to his lord and high in his favor, for through him the Lord had granted victory to Aram. But the man, though a great warrior, was a leper. Once, when the Arameans were out raiding, they carried off a young girl from the land of Israel, and she became an attendant to Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "I wish master could come before the prophet in Samaria. He would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went and told his lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go to the king of Israel, and I will send along a letter." He set out, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, and it read, "Now, when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent my courtier Naaman to you, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he rent his clothes and cried, "Am I God to deal death or give life, that this fellow writes to me to take care of a man of leprosy? Just see for yourselves that he is seeking a pretext against me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you rent your clothes? Let him come to me, and he will learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a message to say to him, "Go and bathe 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman was angered and walked away. "I thought," he said, "he would surely come out to me, and he would stand and invoke his Lord by name, and he would wave his hand towards the spot and cure the affected part. Are not the Amanah and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? I could bathe in them and be clean." And he stalked off in a rage. But his servants came forward and spoke to him. "Sir," they said, "if the prophet told you to do something difficult, would you not do it? How much more so when he has only said to you, 'Bathe and be clean'?" So he went down and immersed himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had bidden. His flesh became like a little boy's, and he was clean. Returning with his entire retinue to the man of God, he stood before him and exclaimed, "Now I know that there is no God in the whole world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." But he replied, "As the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept anything." He pressed him to accept, but he refused. And Naaman said, "Then at least let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for your servant will never again offer up burnt offerings or sacrifice to any god except the Lord. But may the Lord pardon your servant for this. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow low in worship there, and he is leaning on my arm, so that I must bow low in the temple of Rimmon. When I bow low in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord pardon your servant in this." And he said to him, "Go in peace." Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'oseh, המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Thank you, Hannah. I think now we're going to read or Alison is going to read a special prayer for Prince Philip, if Kevin is able to share that on.
I'm going to have a go. I'm confident this is going to work. Because I've got. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, Alison, are you able to see that okay? Whoops, sorry.
Maybe you should read it, Kevin, if Alison can't.
Or would someone else like to?
Do you want me to? It's Alan.
Yeah, yes, please, Alan. I'll be grateful.
Sovereign of the universe, who gives salvation unto rulers and dominion unto princes, together with Britain and the Commonwealth, we mourn the passing of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, in his 100th year of life. We give thanks for his long life, for the 73 years of his marriage.
Wait a minute.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, and for the constancy and strength with which he supported her throughout the long years of her reign. Alison, do you want to take over then, if you're with us?
Alison, you did a prayer for Israel, like what Alan was going to do.
Okay, I'll carry on.
Yeah.
Prince Philip, we honour his courageous service as a decorated naval officer in the Second World War, his inspiring leadership of the Duke of Edinburgh's award programme, and his dedication to the conservation of nature and the environment, among all his other acts of devoted public service. We think of his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and pray that they will find comfort in their loss and inspiration in the example he gave of dignified service. Above all, we think of our dear Queen in this time of her loss, and pray that she will find comfort through these dark hours and days in the recollection of their devoted partnership and their shared ideals of royal duty, as well as the deep affection of her family, the nation, and the Commonwealth. May the Duke of Edinburgh rest in peace, and may his memory be a blessing. God save the Queen. Amen.
Maureen?
Can't hear you, Maureen.
How about Alison doing this prayer? Alison, are you able to do the prayer for the community?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry,
yes.
Maureen.
Am I reading this?
May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel who enter the synagogues to pray and to give aid in those in need. May the Holy One, whose all praise is due, hear their prayers and help them fulfill their aspirations for good.
Can't see where she's reading at all.
Kevin, am
Yeah.
I reading? Am I reading
We're doing a
the?
prayer for the community. We're messing about the order a little bit here. So
Okay.
when Alison has finished the prayer for Israel, you can do a prayer for the community.
Okay.
I'd like
Okay.
to do just a moment.
Apologies, George. You've just got a little bit out of sync here.
This is a special occasion because it's also Yom HaTzmaut and Yom HaZikaron.
Yeah.
Which is a special prayer. I can say a few words.
Yeah, please do, George. That'll be very appropriate. We look forward to hearing your words. So we'll just continue probably doing the prayers, and then we'd really be absolutely delighted to hear what George has got to say. So, as Alison finished the prayer for Israel, I thought she seemed to be halfway through.
Do you want me to do the prayer for Israel?
Yes.
Yeah, if you just continue, please.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant great blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with the faithfulness to the aims of its founders to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants and implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go out Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Thank you, Alison. I think to follow that on, if George would like to say a few words regarding Yom HaTzmaut and anything you'd like to share that you feel would be helpful.
Yes, on this occasion, I thought one could slightly amend that particular prayer.
Okay.
But during the past week, Israel commemorated Yom HaZikaron in memory of the many thousands of soldiers and civilians who died during the War of Independence and in the wars subsequent to it and in terrorist occasions. The following day, on Thursday, the mood changed. Israel celebrated Yom HaTzmaut, the actual Independence Day itself. And it is worthwhile remembering that Israel in those days was very different to what it is now. And what I did want to say was, may Israel return to the aims, the ideals and values of its founders and commemorate those who died to defend those values. And may God help that things should come back again to the way Israel was in 1948. Because unfortunately, at present, many of us are very concerned about what is happening in Israel.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George, and I think we'll share your concerns, and it's very meaningful that you're able to share that with us. Thank you very much again, George. Maureen, I'm sorry that we're a little bit kind of out of sequence, but we'd be very grateful
okay.
you say a prayer for the community.
Okay, so shall I do that now?
Yes, please.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this virtual synagogue to meet, study, and pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed. And may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Maureen. Let's now go towards the bottom of page 486. Yahalelu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo lavado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted.
Adon eretz v'shamayim v'yarem keren le'amo tehila l'chol chasida livnei Yisrael am karavo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
And on page 489, behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Help us to return to you, O God, then we shall return. Renew our days as in the past.
Eitz Chaim hi, lo mahazikim ha, v'tomchecha be'usha darahecha tachelom v'chol netivoteha Shalom, Hashiveinu, Adonai Elecha, Vanashuva, Chadesh Yameinu, 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 Chadesh Yameinu, Kaken, Kaken.
Thank you, Joseph. When thinking about a sermon for this Shabbat, my mind revolved around 3 different issues. However, each of these is linked and dominated by a single common theme. And that theme is the one that has been at the forefront of all our minds and our lives for the past year. That is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. So what are these 3 issues? The first is about the past, what has happened over this past year or so. Never forget the victims. Never forget history. And yet, how quickly we do forget. I wonder how many of you who attended the service at Mosaic at which I last addressed you just 2.5 months ago on the 30th of January remember the words I used to begin that sermon. Congratulations if you do remember, but I suspect many of you don't. I, in fact, began my sermon then with the exact same 7 words I have just read out. Never forget the victims, never forget history. At that time, less than 3 months ago, as part of my sermon, we reflected on the 100,000 UK and 400,000 US victims of COVID-19. As of this past week, those figures stand at 127,000 and 560,000 respectively. In less than 3 months, in just these 2 countries, a further 187,000 people have succumbed to the pandemic. And worldwide, just under 3 million people have now lost their lives to the coronavirus. 3 million individuals, all with grieving families and friends. And yet, how much time do we spend either as individuals or as a society recalling and marking this? Each day we observe the number of new infections and the number of deaths, and yet, despite the fact that each is another human being lost to the pandemic, we become seemingly more desensitized as the scale of this tragedy moves steadily down the news stream's priorities. Deaths from COVID-19 seem to have become just a number. Having seen so much, another death fails to move or have an impact. It seems a little disproportionate to me that the media has just spent over a week eulogizing about the death of one, albeit, as we heard earlier, very important 99-year-old man, whilst we have lost so many over the past year. We also quickly seem to forget all the tragic mistakes that have been made over the past year. Locking down too late repeatedly, the tsunamic tragedy that took place in our care homes, our ongoing failure to properly test, trace, and isolate those with the disease. This is yesterday's news. As someone once famously said, today's news becomes tomorrow's fish and chip paper. Now we have the vaccine and our possible route to freedom and survival. This seems to be all that matters. Why have we forgotten so soon, and how and in what way will all those we have lost over the past year be remembered? When will an inquiry about how we handled this pandemic take place? And so on to the second aspect that has been going through my mind and that concerns this week's Sidra. Normally, writing an address about Tazria Matsora is challenging. I read earlier from the start of the Sidra, Leviticus chapter 12, which covered impurity after childbirth. But in the following chapter 13, God instructs Moses and Aaron to tell the Israelite community that when a person has on the skin of his body a swelling, rash, or discoloration, and it develops into tsarat, a scaly infection on the skin of the body, it shall be reported to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons, the priests. The one who needs to be cleansed is instructed to wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe in water. Then he may be clean. In Hebrew, tahor, literally pure. If the priest finds the person to be tameh, unclean, he was quarantined for a minimum of 14 days. 7 days after first hearing of the infection, then he underwent another inspection and then was isolated another 7 days before entering back into the community. And it is this that rings somewhat familiar to our present and recently past situation. The directives we have received from the government have similarly been particular and specific. Over the past year, we have been instructed how to wash our hands thoroughly and how to socially distance, applying the 2 meter, or is it the 1 meter plus rule. The coronavirus requirements for quarantine after traveling abroad and self-isolation if infected are for similar durations to those in Tazria. Later in Leviticus 13 verse 45, it explains, as for the person with the tsarat, their clothes shall be rent, the head shall be left bare, and the upper lip should be covered over. So our ancestors were wearing masks as well. When we first heard the government's recommendations last March, to many of us it may have seemed a bit excessive and overly cautious. Yet retrospectively, if we had isolated the virus earlier and done a better job of quarantining those possibly infected, perhaps we could have prevented such a high spread and death rate within our country. So in this sense at least, Tazria Matsora has become relatable. While at first the mitzvot in these sidrot seem cruel, namely to isolate people who have possible contagion, in fact, quite the opposite. It is necessary. While it feels cruel to tell our loved ones we cannot see them because we want to protect them from illness, it's not done out of malice, but rather out of love. Most of us have, I think, over this past year realized that there are sacrifices we must make individually to protect the rest of the community. Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our ancestors, warns us, do not judge another until you are in his place. What has seemed for so long a nonsensical, out of context sidra does, we now see in some ways, actually contain some sage advice. Mitzvot that seem over-exaggerated and antiquated are exactly what we've been doing this past year, albeit in the context of a pandemic rather than a skin disease, and as a more open, enlightened, and science-led society. And so on to my third and final thought about the future that awaits us. While Tazria Metzora talks more about the prevention of disease, it also addresses the idea of re-entry into society post-sickness. Isolation in Tazria Metzora was conducted to cure uncleanliness before re-entering society. But for the majority of us today, social distancing and lockdown has been more about preventing the transmission of infection. Now it may just be that we are coming towards the end of this pandemic. Yes, there may still be a third wave this autumn, or maybe sooner, but this is unlikely to be as significant as the two previous waves. The big difference this time is hopefully the vaccine. Most of us have by now had at least one vaccine dose, and a number of you will have had two. Dov Linzer, a prominent New York rabbi, asks some interesting questions about what lies ahead. What does it mean for all of us to come back from an extended period of isolation? How do we reintegrate into society? How do we recreate that society? Almost as challenging as when this virus began and we went into lockdown is our emergence from it. How will we emerge? Will it be as if it never happened and the pattern of our lives will simply revert to how they were before? Or will our lives going forward change dramatically when compared to previously? It is also now important that we plan and prepare for a post-COVID reality, both as a community, whether that be at work, as a synagogue, or as part of a broader society, but also we need to prepare as individuals. Although we are all eager to be free and return to normal, the reality is that a process of readjustment is needed, which will take time and need to be gradual. There will most likely be some form of new normal, but the evolution of this will need to be a process over time. Emotionally, we want to get back to normal quickly. We want this so badly, but intellectually, we understand that if we do not take the proper time, we may end up creating lasting damage. As a synagogue, if the current roadmap out of COVID follows its planned trajectory, then it seems we will, perhaps in a few months' time, initially be allowed to gather for indoor religious ceremonies with limited capacity, but with a continued Zoom interface and facility. Even in the later stages, when we can again worship together in person in large gatherings, we will still want to allow those who are not able to physically join us to continue to have remote and interactive access to our services, as well as to social and cultural occasions. So how to pull all this together? Well, all three issues I have raised are important. We really mustn't forget those we have lost. We need to reflect soon on the actions taken and the mistakes we have made over the past year so they're not repeated. We must recognize that what we might initially see as obscure, authoritarian, or unnecessary actions may in fact, on reflection, have lessons to teach us and have been the right thing to do. we must prepare to slowly but steadily emerge from the wreckage of the pandemic and recreate a new, better, but still normal world. Joseph Campbell, an American professor of literature, whose work covers many aspects of the human experience, reflected that opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. Let us summon up these powers and have the strength and determination to deal with each of these aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic wisely in the months and years ahead. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stephen. I would say that this, of all the parashas, this is the most difficult one. And I apologise. I think it's Leviticus is not easy in parts, but I think this happened to be the allocated reading, which is a very difficult subject. So I'm just grateful that you were able to put it into context and sort of give us another sort of perspective of what I find some quite uncomfortable thoughts and etc. Really, yeah, making it real. Thank you, Stephen. I'm now going to lead the concluding part of the service. I'm going to do a bit of jumping around your prayer books. I think this is, in the words of Eric Morecambe, this service has had the right words, but not necessarily in the right order. So I'm going to ask you to turn to page 96 for the Hashkivanim prayer, and I think it follows on nicely from Stephen's sermon. We're actually praying for God to protect us in difficult times, and especially in these current times, the words are even more meaningful. So from page 96, I'll read in English. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, HaPorez, Sukkot, Shalom, Aleinu, V'al Kol, Yishvei, Tevel. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. I'm now going to, for the Elena, we can do the Judy Chicago alternative Elena, which I find more inclusive in its wording than the traditional one we use. This is on page 213 of your prayer books. I'm going to ask Vanya, do you have a prayer book with you? So if you, because I'm asking, but it doesn't have to be Vanya. If someone could read the alternative
Kevin, I think you're muted.
Me. Are you able to unmute yourself?
I think. Okay.
Yeah, it's only in French and Hebrew, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm not sure.
So it's up to you. It's up to you.
Yeah,
I'm happy to read
it. Because French in France, they need all the prayers they could get because they're in a different position to us, not so good, and I don't think they've learned the lessons that Stephen mentioned. So, Vanya, if you say alternatively in French what I'm about to recite from page 213.
So it's the Aleinu, okay?
No, it's from page 2. Oh, it's the alternative one.
But unfortunately, I don't have your, the English.
Oh, but okay, I think we're going to have to leave it then. But would someone, Vanya, I didn't realise. But would someone else want to just read the alternative line from page 213 with me?
I would love
There's
to.
Janet.
Can we have it in French, please?
Yes, I can do it in French.
Would be lovely.
If you don't mind.
The page, it's a different version.
Okay, so shall I start?
Go ahead, go on then.
Ok. C'est à nous de louer le maître de toutes choses et d'exalter le créateur du commencement qui nous a choisis entre tous les peuples en nous donnant sa Torah et nous a assigné la vocation de déclarer son unité et de proclamer sa royauté. C'est pourquoi nous nous inclinons pour rendre grâce au roi de tous les rois, le Saint béni soit-il. Qu'il soit béni, lui qui a étendu les cieux et fondé la terre. Son trône majestueux, siège de sa toute-puissance, est au-dessus des cieux. Il est notre Dieu, il n'y en a pas d'autre. Il est notre roi, à nul autre comparable. Comme il est écrit dans sa Torah, reconnais aujourd'hui et que ton cœur proclame que seul l'Éternel est Dieu, en haut, dans le ciel, comme en bas, sur la terre. Il n'y en a point d'autre. Shall I carry
What's
on?
French for amen?
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. That wasn't planned, but that was really beautiful. Was that the traditional Elena you said when you were saying in French?
Sorry?
Was that the traditional Elena?
It is,
Okay.
and we've got another paragraph if you want.
Yes. Okay.
Yes? Shall I? Okay.
Okay.
Notre ferme espoir éternel, notre Dieu, est de voir bientôt les splendeurs de ton pouvoir, lorsque tu évinceras les fausses divinités de la terre et que les idoles seront réduites à néant. Alors le monde sera rétabli sous ta royauté et tous rendront hommage à ton nom. Alors ceux qui se sont écartés de toi reconnaîtront que devant toi seul, ils peuvent se prosterner et proclamer des louanges. Ils rendront hommage à la gloire de ton nom et accepteront ta royauté, car elle appartient à toi seul et de toute éternité tu gouvernes. Ainsi qu'il est dit dans ta Torah, l'Éternel régnera à jamais, et il est dit, l'Éternel sera le roi de toute la terre. En ce jour, il sera un et un sera son nom. Amen. So now you know I'm French. There's no doubt. Yeah?
There's something we should say.
We'll
We should
take
say
your word
merci.
for that, but no, that was beautiful. Even though I don't think many of us understood it, it's still
You've got the
found
proof
something.
now, okay? You've got the proof I'm French.
Yeah, okay. I think I believed you anyway. So Janet, from page 213, would you like to read the alternate line with me? And then all that has divided us will merge.
And then compassion will be wedded to power.
Then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind.
And then both men and women will be gentle.
And then both men and women will be strong.
And then no person will be subject to another person's will.
And then all be rich and free and varied.
And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many.
And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance.
And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old.
And then all will nourish the young.
And then all will cherish life's creatures.
And then all will live in harmony with each other and earth.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Amen.
Amen.
Joseph, do you want to do B'yom Hahu?
Hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shamo echad.
The meditation for the Kaddish, I'm going to read from the new draft edition of our prayer book, again in the spirit of inclusivity. This is by Sheila Schulman. We remember with pride all who are dear to us and have now died. They were our partners, our parents, our children, our sisters and brothers, our families, our friends, our fellow congregants, our colleagues, and our peers. We lived with them. We argued with them, worked with them, fought with them, journeyed with them. We shared our joys and our sorrows with them. admired, respected, cherished, and loved them. As we hold all our memories, the sweet and the bitter, with thanks for the richness and diversity of their lives, the legacy of knowledge, wisdom, courage, and love they bequeathed to us, and we rejoice in remembrance of all that we shared. And on this Shabbat, we mark the yahrzeit of Bernard Brookman, husband of Muriel Brookman, Hannah Drake, mother of Tanya Drake, Claire Gordon, cousin of Lindsay Cohen. Lindsay, we wish you long life. Arnold Green, husband of Adrian Green, Ernest Schlesinger, father of Hannah Schlesinger. And again, Hannah, we wish you strength and long life as you remember your dear father. Is there anybody else someone would like to mention in memory of Daniel?
I'm whilst wishing long life to those people who've already been mentioned, I'd also like to reflect on Rabbi Sheila Schulman, who was an exceptional rabbi who wrote those words that we just heard, who I had the pleasure of being married by.
Ah, wow.
And
are there any other names
as Hannah will know, exceptional?
Thank you, Daniel. It's very appropriate you mentioning that. Is there any other names anyone would like to mention the memory of? Zikronan Lavocha, your memory is an abiding blessing. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you feel you'll get more meaning out of actually saying the words of the Kaddish out loud with me. Bearing in mind there might be a little bit of a synchronization problem. I think it's good those who want to speak out to be heard, please go ahead. As we recite Kaddish, Yit Gadol Yit Kadash B'mei Alma Rak Tei V'Nich Malkotei V'Chayechon V'Yechon V'Chayei Devot Beit Yisrael Aglan Man V'Ivru
Amen.
Yehesh Mei V'Lav V'Vach Olam Lama Umaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Yitba'av, Yitba'av, Yitasei, V'Yitba'av, Yitba'av, V'Yitba'av, 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 Mikol B'Rachata, V'Shirata Tu B'Shkata, Ne'emata Damam Bama V'Amu, Amen. Yahai Shmei V'Rach, V'Yishmai V'Chim Aleinu Yachol Yisrael V'Yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Moma, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Yachol Yisrael, V'Al Yisrael Yimru, Amen. May great peace descend from heaven and abundant life be granted to us and to Israel, and let us say Amen. May the Most High source of perfect peace grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity, and let us say Amen. Normally, whoever's leading the service will say, Kevin, have you got any announcements? But Alan has very kindly volunteered to actually be our announcer. So I'm going to hand over to you, Alan.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. First of all, I'm sure everybody would wish to join me in thanking the members of the R&P and others who have taken our service this morning. Linda, first of all, for the first part of the service, and Hannah did Haftarah, and particularly, of course, Stephen for reading, not only for reading the Torah, but also giving us this sermon, some very thoughtful sermon on COVID and so on, and things that we will hopefully have learned from our misfortune, as well as reminding us of the losses that so many people have endured over the last 15 months or so. So thank you, Stephen, from all of us. I have to say, this is the first, I think, for Mosaic Liberal. I don't think we've ever had any other language apart from English and Hebrew. So it's a very nice. Thank you, Rania, for introducing us to a French prayer.
My pleasure.
That was quite something. Next, Shabbat, we have Rabbi Rachel returning to take our Shabbat morning service. This week, this coming week, there's a few things going on. Tomorrow, usual Sunday event on Zoom, and this is by Professor Peter Abrahams, who is, he's got a long CV, I won't read all of that, but he's talking tomorrow afternoon on Leonardo da Vinci, the blurb says, a 15th century artist whose concepts and artistic ideas anticipated 21st century imaging. So that sounds as if it'll be very interesting. So that's tomorrow on Zoom, of course, at the usual time for a Sunday of 4 o'clock. And there's another event on this coming Tuesday, the 20th, which also sounds interesting. It's a JAX event on the Jews of Denmark. And we have a lady called Charlotte Talmay, if I pronounced it correctly. The reference is about a small but influential Jewish community in Denmark. And she'll be telling everybody about the story of Danish Jewry going right back to 1622. So that's on Tuesday on Zoom starting at 2:30. And 3 weeks ahead, can I just remind everybody that on Sunday, the 9th of May, which is 3 weeks tomorrow, we have our AGM on Zoom at 11 o'clock. The agenda, there's some important items coming up for discussion at the meeting, and the agenda for that meeting will be in Kahila, the next Kahila, which is published or circulated on the 29th of April, which is a fortnight, which is Thursday week, I think. So keep a lookout for the agenda and make a note in your diary, the AGM on Sunday, 9th of May at 11 o'clock. I should also, of course, as usual, thank Joseph for his musical accompaniment. So thanks to everybody, and back to Kevin.
Okay. I was thinking, I think Randy might have started a trend. So Maria, be very careful that what we might be asking you to do in Portuguese for us.
Well, I have read in Ladino, so
You
now
have, you did for Iversaida.
yeah, that's
of course
right.
you
Oh,
did.
I'm sorry, Maria. Yes, I forgot.
No, that's yes, it is. Ladino is actually more like Spanish, but I'm not going back into the old history and our animosity towards the Spaniards anyway.
So be warned, everybody, we'll be checking your linguistic skills and you might be asked to do alternative readings. Okay, I'll just make another announcement. Just please, I did get a text from Olivia. Mum's finally been vaccinated. I've just actually had confirmation. And believe me, it was not a straightforward process. She would have actually been here at the service had we not had issues, so that is good news. And the reason why Adrian and Lindsay have left early, it was nothing personal to me. They're actually having their vaccinations about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So it's good, please God. But everybody who haven't been vaccinated, you will get injected soon just to give you that extra layer of protection. Right, on that note, Joseph has promised me something upbeat. It's been kind of a challenging service for various people. Yeah, I don't think you're going to follow my request for something in Elvis form.
I'm not doing Elvis today. I'm sorry, Kevin. I just get back. I know I said on a lum tune, so I don't know
Okay, I'm sure.
on 525.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Over to you.
Adonallah, Mashemalach, Baterem Kol Yatzirifra, Veit Nasa, Bechef Sakon, Azai Melech Shemonika, Adonallah, Hashemalach, Baterem Kol Yatzirifra, Veit Nasa, Bechef Sakon, Azai Melech Shemonika. ואחרי הגלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא. והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם, השם עלה, בטרם כל יצא נברא, לעת נשא חפש הכל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. והוא אחד ואין שני, לחם שלו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמזרע. אדון העולם, השם עלה, בטרם כל יצא נברא, לעת נשא וחפש הכל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. והוא אלי וחי גולי, וצוחב לי בעת צרה. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. אדון עולם, השם עלה, בטרם כל יצא נברא, לעת נשא וחפש הכל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ביעדו הפקיד רוחי, בעת תישן ויעירה, באמרוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אילה. אדון עולם, השם עלה, בטרם כל יצא נברא, לעת נשא וחפש הכל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. אדון עולם, השם עלה, בטרם כל יצא נברא, לעת נשא וחפש הכל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
Joseph, that was better than any Elvis you could have done. Thank you. That's a lovely upbeat way of concluding the service. My concluding prayer. Adonai oz amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amar v'shalom. Eternal God, grant strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with peace. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Well, feel free to unmute.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Thank
Shalom.
you. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you again, Linda and Stephen.
Thank you to all the service takers.
Okay.
Well done.
Lovely to see you all.
Yeah. Now, I need to get my. I know this is a bit late, but I just want to get my Kiddush cup. That's something I've forgotten on my page. Is there any volunteers to lead Kiddush? Otherwise, Joseph will be happy to do it. But
Kevin, would you like Ruth to do it?
I would love Ruth to do it. Absolutely.
Shine, it's yours. Go on, then.
Let someone else have a turn.
Devo considerare.
Beshamru v'nei Yisrael, et Hashem, לעשות את השבת, ואותם ברית עולם, ביני ישראל, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים מצאתי, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ויום השביעי שבת וינקדש. תכלית יום השבת לקדשו, על כן ברמת יום השבת ויקדשהו. תפי חבריי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Janet, what have you? Is that Sherry there, Janet?
No, it's actually Baldwin's, would you believe? It's disgusting.
Yeah, I was about to. It works well on the toilets, though.
10 goals for the Sugar Boys.
Kills all known germs dead.
Kevin, should we do Hamotzi?
Yes, sorry. Hamotzi, who would like to do Hamotzi? Go on. Is that Paul, if you'd like to?
Okay.
Or Ruth?
Right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi
Amen. Min haaretz.
Amen.
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 Lovely to see our old building, and it is an old building at the moment. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Alan, have you got any updates on what's happening? Where we are with the old building? Is it completely now empty?
Yes, it's completely empty now, apart from Anne,
Oh, Anne.
who still hasn't been given a date to actually physically vacate. So until she's told otherwise, she's still saying that. But everything, all the contents, of course, as I've said before, are being completely emptied.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Sue.
Thank you for a lovely service.
Yeah, and Linda, you're singing as well.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you so much.
That's all right, Alison. I'm sorry about the confusion. It does happen. It's guaranteed if I'm involved in leading any service, there's going to be a bit of chaos. That kind of
Sorry,
territory.
you couldn't see me.
Yeah.
Anyway, all the very best.
Bye,
and
Alison.
thank you so much, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye-bye.
Well done to everyone, Linda, Stephen, Kevin, well
Thank you
done.
again, Joseph.
Take good care.
Alan, did you know Barnet are playing at the moment because they moved the kick-off because of the funeral?
I know. Yeah, I just sent you an email, a chat message.
Oh, right. Oh, God, so you have. Barnet being 0-0 as a result, it's normally about 2 or 3 by this time. And we won't talk about cricket.
No, I know. That's dreadful. Yeah.
Me and Alan share supporting the same teams, football and cricket, and it has to be said they're both not going through the best of times.
If it wasn't the wrong religion, we'd say that we both have crosses to bear.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, thank you again, Stephen. That was a good one, but we really appreciate it.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
And Linda, got beautiful singing as well. I like the fact you did different tunes also.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yes, I do talk to you occasionally. I appreciate you doing different tunes as well. I always think it's nice if you. But I wasn't sure whether you were expecting the echo with the door, or whether.
Well, I kind of sort of half stopped, and then nobody echoed, so I thought, I'll have to carry on.
That was good.
If it was good, it actually worked well. It was. I know it's not how we normally do it, but it's quite. How can I put it? There's different ways of doing it. And thank you, Daniel, for encouraging Rania to do the prayer in French. I must admit, I wasn't 100% certain, but I always like to do different things. And
I think
it
it's
kind of
part of making people feel welcome. Everyone should
Thank
be able to
you,
participate
Daniel.
in the way that they can, and especially
That's
in
very
these times,
kind of you.
we don't all have the same prayer book. It's not possible, so we have to say, Dianu, enough, and accept what we have.
It was good. I have to say, it was good. Thank you. It's given me something to think about for future services, but I'll hold that thought for now.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
And I think we have to remain flexible and accommodating, because that's the nature of the synagogue that we are.
In fact, Daniel, I'm so impressed. Would you like to be the chairman of R&B?
If only I had the time and the energy. I'm going to decline for now and possibly forever.
Oh,
I have never aspired to a leadership position in the synagogue, and it was a pure mistake that I ended up in one.
But when I was made chairman of R&P, I think Hannah sort of put it not quite as it sounds. Well, she had to retire, and there's nobody else capable. That was her words.
Well, some seek greatness, others have greatness thrust upon them.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, but I'm not complaining.
And many of the things I've ended up doing in life, I didn't seek out to do them. It just kind of happened.
You fell upon it.